Good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of Behind the Curtain. Everybody give a wave. We're thrilled to have you here tonight and joining us because, of course, as we truly believe, the patron comes first. We are artists that are here and devoted to hopefully making your life a better life. By bringing you art with meaning and joy and happiness and sometimes escapism. Tonight, we're doing this episode of Behind the Curtain about new work and new work development. You know, as we all know, every single show you have ever seen in your life started as a new work at some point, where the book writer picked up his or her pen and wrote down for the first time the first line that was going to be in that script, or the composer or lyricist wrote the first piece of music. The actor in the first rehearsal learns the music for the very first time. So it's an exciting process, and we're going to sort of touch a little about how that process works. So I want to introduce everybody that's on the Brady Bunch panel, as I like to refer to it as. Mr. Robert Colby Harper, who is the Associate Artistic Director of the Phoenix Theater Company and the Director of the New Works Festival here at the Phoenix Theater Company. Mr. Craig Baumler, who is a composer and lyricist, a composer mainly. And we have had the pleasure and the joy of presenting and premiering 5 of his musical works that we'll be chatting about a little bit. There is Carrie Rodriguez, who is the composer, lyricist of Americano, that hopefully many of you saw in January and February of this year. I had the pleasure of directing it, and I'm the co-book writer of that musical, and fell in love with Carrie, about 3 years ago when we first met in her hometown, Austin, Texas. And then Mr. Sean Ewing, who is an exceptional actor that I had the joy of working with in the role of Tony Valdovinos in Americano. And he'll be bringing us a song. And Robbie will be chatting with him about the actor's perspective in new work. And finally, Mr. Rich Orloff, who is a playwright du jour. And we have had the great pleasure of doing 5 of his plays at our New Works Festival over the years. You'll also see a few familiar faces on video tonight, and we will acknowledge those as those moments come up. So let's just get started, and I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Robbie Colby Harper to launch us into this new work development episode of Behind the Curtain. Robbie?
Hi, everyone. How you doing?
Good.
Doing good. All of you out there, I see you all. There's like hundreds. Anyway, so today we're talking about the New Works and its importance in theater across the country, across the world, really. Our New Works Festival is entering its 23rd year. We're about to launch a submission process that you can find out on our website. And it's just really exciting because what I love about new work development, especially at Phoenix Theater Company, is that we get to meet so many awesome people from across the country and learn from each other, really. So I'm going to launch off with a question for Craig, Rich, and Michael. What festivals, my question is, what festivals like ours, like the New American Theater Festival, what does it provide you as playwrights, book writers, composers? What does it provide you Why is it important for theaters across the country to hold these festivals and provide resources for you? Let's start with Rich, because he's been here for five different times.
Well, first of all, thanks. I'm glad to be in all of your company. And simply put, yeah, when I've been in the 5 festivals, I'm here for a week. And I always hope that the play will be better when I leave the festival than when I come in. And so far, 5 times that's been the case.
Woohoo!
Yes. Woo. And all 5 of them have gone on to productions, and none of them were really ready for that when they came into the festival. So the festival play development is an essential step, because when I start with a play and just write it on paper, it's theory, and I need to have it in front of an audience to test that theory.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. And Michael, what do you think? I mean, I know what you think, because you run the theater. But what do you get out of Newark's development? What do you intend to get out of it?
Well, from a playwright or the co-book writer on a Americano, what I hoped to get was what aspects of the script were really resonating and finding clarity with to an audience. And the audience's feedback is so essential. It doesn't matter exactly, it does matter, but I mean, it doesn't matter exactly what they say in the feedback. What it does do is provide clarity on whether or not what I've written is resonating or is confusing or being taken for an intention that I did not, realize that's the way they were going to take it. It also is the flip side. You can tell what is working. You can tell, and this is all coming from individuals that have nothing at stake. They're just here to observe and to give their raw feedback, which is really incredible and an incredible help. As an artistic director of a theater that is very interested in developing new work for the canon of American theater, it is very, very exciting to see our audiences come, enjoy, give their feedback, and as that show goes forward, how they can embrace the fact that they were there when that show first started. It's a very exciting experience to have.
Yeah, what I really noticed, Michael, from Americano, because we did several readings of it, and then we had it in the festival, and then we did a world premiere, is that I loved the way the audience felt invested in it. There's a large group of people who were participated in those readings,
Right.
and got to see it come to fruition. And I think
Right.
that's really cool for our audiences to be able to share that.
Yeah, very much so.
You don't get that a lot in
Nope.
theater. You really don't.
It was really cool. It was very, very cool.
It was really cool. Mr. Craig Baumler. So you have a different point of view. You're a composer.
Well, yes. I mean, what I tend to, I don't like really less than 3, readings, workshops. And so the festivals for me provide consensus. And consensus is a tricky thing because whether you think it should be one way or another, the audience tends to think, you begin to get a consensus. They tend to go, well, actually, what you said is exactly what Michael said. What you think you said was actually not what you said, and then you begin to listen to them heartily. And our job really is to respond to consensus. And whether I like it or not, since we're really only 50% of the formula in the theater and they're the other 50%, our job is to respond to that consensus and either carry on with it or go, what they want is not what I wanted. And so, you can make that choice. But in general, it takes me personally about 3 workshops to do that. And in my contracts within the last, say, 15 or 20 years, I've more or less asked for that, because I think if the piece is ready, a theater will find it. And if the piece is not ready, they won't.
Mm.
Interesting.
Yeah, I love the idea of consensus, because I do think that the plays and musicals that really hone in on that consensus between intention of the piece and the audience's experience of it, those are the ones that go on to where you see over and over and over, like a Hello Dolly, you know, Gypsy. There is a consensus there of the experience of it.
And those out of town tryouts were profound.
Right. Because yeah, the out of town
Very
tryouts
true.
weren't so good.
Woo!
Yeah. Awesome. So I want to move on to Americano specifically. So Michael, can you just give everybody a kind of overview of the history of the development of Americano? Because it was pretty extensive.
Well, it started about 5 years ago, 5.5 years ago now. It all, interestingly enough, it all began at a wedding reception, in which this producer, who well, actually, he wasn't a producer. He was not a producer at the time, but he's now become a producer. His name is Jason Rose. He approached me at this reception, a wedding reception, as we were waiting for the bride and groom to arrive, and said he would love to develop a musical. And we were acquaintances at that time, and so we were chatting about this. And a number of people will approach me as an artistic director from time to time about a new work, and you sort of listen and say, yeah, that's a great idea. Get in touch with me, and you never hear from them again, right? But sure enough, Jason knocked on the door, and I was pleasantly surprised to start down this path. We went down a path with a rock and roll composer of a band, because he was very excited about this group, and he loved this group, and he wanted us to try to do a story around their music. But he wanted to have an immigration story. Well, as try as we might, the story just never really found its essence. And it was very dark, and it was everything that we didn't want it to be, but we were speaking to the lyrics and the music of this particular composer. Long story short, we ended up deciding that this was not the right idea. However, during the course of that time, we became more and more interested in immigration, and in particular the experience of a dreamer, who we felt is a part of our population that is so unique to the immigrant situation or scenario, in the respect that so the bulk of them came across the border into the United States having no knowledge that they were not a citizen. They were, brought across at a very young age. We began to research this, and we discovered a story that is, so the musical Americano is based on the true story of the life of a man named Tony Valdovinos. And
he's local.
He's local to Phoenix, yes. And Jason and I called him out of the blue. We researched, Googled him, and etc. Called him out of the blue, brought him in. He had no knowledge of musical theater whatsoever. It was like, what are you talking about? And we asked him to talk about his life.
And dancing?
Yeah, like, you're going to do a musical about what? We talked to him for about 2.5 hours, and I recorded and wrote down everything that he was saying. He left, and Jason and I looked at each other and said, oh my God, there's a musical here. And so that started us on the trajectory of doing the story of Americano, which is based on the life and times of Tony Valdovinos, who's about to turn 30. But where the story starts, he is 12. or 11, and um, so, and from the very get-go, I said to our producer, Mr. Jason Rose, I said, this has to be original music. So he ultimately agreed, so we went in search of a composer, and it had to be somebody that it was Latino, Hispanic culture, that it was exciting, that had a novel and unique sound. And lo and behold, through a series of directions, we were guided to the beautiful Carrie Rodriguez in Austin, Texas. And again, not unlike Tony Valdovinos, we called and talked to her, and she said, musical? What the heck are you talking about? And because Carrie had never done a musical before. But
or been to one.
Say what?
No, I said or gone to see one either.
Or gone to see one, right.
No. I've seen a few, just a few. But limited knowledge. Limited
knowledge. Oh my gosh. So we ultimately, the co-book writer and myself, Jonathan Rosenberg, is the other book writer, a delightful man. And the two of us went out to Austin, Texas, to talk with Carrie about the show and etc. And then she agreed to do a couple of songs, demo songs. And the first song that she wrote is the opening song of the show, actually, to this day, called "We Paved the Way." And we talked about where in the show these songs would fall and what they meant. And because her musical composition and her lyric writing was already very storytelling, it just seemed to be a nice fit. And I know Carrie has learned a great deal along the way, and she has been an incredible joy to work with. So ultimately, we went through 6 different readings, and finally premiered the piece. We went through 3 Tonys, and the joy of all of our lives is Mr. Sean Ewing, who I got the pleasure of auditioning in New York City. Rich and Sean are both in New York City right now, and Carrie is in Austin, Texas. So the late night hours are happening in New York at this time. At any rate,
I'm just waking up.
At any rate, we finally got to premiere it on January 31st. So.
Yeah, and what a premiere it was. It was really exciting to see something like that come out of our theater. So congratulations, Michael and Carrie and Jonathan, if you're watching, and Sean, thank you so much.
And I will tell you this, didn't mean to interrupt, Robbie, but
that's okay.
If it was not for the patrons who came to these readings and who were in the lobby after the show, so enthusiastic, effusive, responsive, connected to this piece so greatly, the show would not be where it is now.
That is an awesome segue to the next question. God, you're good. So speaking of the audience, what is the most impactful feedback that you received during the process?
Probably the most impactful thing that I heard from a fellow professional, it was, and this actually changed the evolution of the second act after our first public reading, and that was stay on the trajectory of Tony's story. Don't tangent, stay on the story, stay on the story. And Tony, if you guys ever get the pleasure, well, actually you can, because on the 24th, there's going to be this amazing concert where Ms. Carrie Rodriguez is going to be singing some of the score of Americano, and I'm going to be interviewing Tony Valdovinos. So when you meet him, when you tune in and you meet him, you're going to find out that Tony tangents in about 50 different directions every 30 seconds. I'm telling you, that man can cover more subjects in 30 seconds than and he assumes that everybody knows what he's talking about. He's hysterical. So God love him. The script kind of took on his personality at first, and we were tangenting here, left this story, that story, this story. And so what we tremendously learned, great impact, was to focus the piece down and follow this this trajectory of this amazing young man and what he's been able to accomplish. From the audience itself was a resounding effusiveness about the piece itself and how timely and relevant it is. And some people may have said, well, this is a little too long, or this might be a little bit too much, or oh my God, I love this. And then somebody else would say, no, that wasn't my favorite. Or they would all be, oh, this was the best part of the whole show, or, you know, what have you. But the thing that resonated was you have something very special here, and it's very timely, and it's very now.
Yeah, and it's still good. You still have done rewrites after the world premiere, right?
We're in the midst of those now.
Yeah, because you learn stuff even after the world premiere.
You
Oh, very
can't
much
know.
so.
You can't know anything until you've seen 21 performances of it, and even then,
Yep.
you know, again, the consensus.
So right now, thank you, Michael, for all of that. Thank you for that kind of history of the development of the show. So I'm going to turn to Carrie, because Carrie has to get out because she has to put her little one to bed soon. And Carrie, a question came through already for you. So I'll just start with that. What's your favorite song in Americano?
Ooh. Oh, my favorite song. I think I'm partial to the song that closes Act 1, The Dreamer.
Dreamer song?
Yeah, I didn't know I was a dreamer, although the sound of it rings true. There's just, I don't know, it's, to me, it's kind of like the heart in a way of the material.
Right.
The angst and the reality that he's having to face and all that heartache. Mm-hmm.
It's awesome. Yeah, and everyone, you'll be able to hear a little bit of that real soon. So just stay tuned. So I'm going to ask you, because Carrie, you this is your first musical, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and you write pop music, right?
Sure. Yeah. Popular. I mean, I guess you could.
How would you describe it?
You could call me a folk singer-songwriter.
Ah, yes.
I actually have been using the term Americana. Because it's kind of Americana. That's the genre of Americana, which is folksy, country.
Uh-huh.
But I also sing in Spanish, or often I sing in Spanglish. And I think that's probably, you know, I know Jonathan, our other book writers, had seen me perform at the Belly Up outside of San Diego some years ago, and he was the one that first thought of me. But I think that maybe is why, just because.
I think actually Jason discovered you through another female composer in Austin, Texas, that suggested you.
Oh, really? Oh, interesting. Okay. But yeah, so Americana.
So what inspires you to write music? Any music? When do you get that little twinge?
Yeah, I mean, it's everyday life. It's looking out the window. And I certainly, where I live is so much a part of Tony's story. I mean, I live in a predominantly Mexican-American neighborhood, very blue collar. I mean, the people on my street leave their houses at 4:35 in the morning in the summer to go work, construction jobs. So I'm watching these people come and go. These are my neighbors. I'm watching their kids playing in the front yard till midnight. Family parties, you know, it really, I feel like moving here, we bought a house here about 4 years ago, was the perfect setup for me to be ready to write these songs in a way. So yeah, it's everyday life and witnessing interactions and being inspired by that.
Awesome. Now, what made you say yes to write the music for Americano?
Good question.
Because it was a departure for you, so that it must have been like, ah!
Oh yeah, I mean, I was terrified. Because I knew, I have a good friend who's also a pop folk singer songwriter named Aaron McEwen, who wrote a musical called Miss You Like Hell. Is that right, Michael?
Which one?
Miss You Like Hell. Is that right?
Yeah, Miss You Like Hell. Yeah.
Miss You Like Hell. Anyway, so this friend of mine, jumped into the world of musical theater, and I think they worked on it for 6 years. So I had been warned that this could take a really long time, and a lot of my energy and time. And B, I knew nothing about it, and I felt inadequate in many ways to be writing for musical theater. But overall, this Tony story, I felt like it was such an opportunity to get to tell that story and have a hand in, telling his story as a human story that everyone could relate to and empathize with. That opportunity was so huge, I just couldn't say no to that. It felt like, this is my moment where I might get to do something that's so much bigger than, writing my little songs that I don't know. It's bigger than me. It's for all of us, and it just felt like a really unique opportunity.
I love that. I love that because sometimes in life, the universe demands you to grow and to move outside your box.
Yeah.
And the fact that you answered that is pretty amazing. And thank you for doing that. So you're gonna sing a song, but I'm gonna turn this back to Michael. You're gonna sing Abandonado, which is a song that you wrote that actually got cut. Mm-hmm. So Michael, why was this really awesome song cut from the show?
The song was originally written. I had asked Carrie if there's a subplot character who at the time that this character was written, he was kind of a nemesis to Tony, a young childhood nemesis. And then as the story evolved and we went along and talked more to Tony about certain things, it was ultimately decided that we would combine him, the original character that he was based on, with another young man that Tony grew up with. And so he was more of a friend that had a lot of difficult issues and challenges that Tony was trying to help him with. That being said, near the end of the first act, the young man is involved in a drug deal, and he tries to blame this drug deal on Tony because he's under the pressure and complete authority of his brother, who is a gang member. He's arrested and he's put in jail. And we, at the time, I had said, let's try to resolve his story and give him a song. So the song became Abandonado, which was a song that he sang from his jail cell. However, ultimately, as we were writing the piece, it was taking us in a direction because we were nearing the end of the first act and we needed to stay on Tony's track, which was his discovery of the fact that he was not a citizen of the United States. And following this number was when he actually met up with a recruiter, and the recruiter then ultimately discovered that he wasn't a citizen. He goes home, confronts his parents, and then he realizes that he's a dreamer, and he ends the first act with this anthem song that Carrie wrote. So Abandonado was actually taking us off that track and taking us in a different direction. We loved the song, and even to this day, we are still looking for a place where maybe we can find a place to put this song. Ultimately, we have not been able to do that thus far, but it is a song that we, when I first asked Carrie to consider it and write about it, she said, okay, let me think about it. And then she came back with a beautiful song that is meant for another day.
Without further ado, Carrie, you have somebody joining you.
Yes, I'm so blessed to be quarantined with this man here. This is
you looked out.
Luke Jacobs.
And he plays guitar.
And he plays guitar.
So whenever you're ready, darling.
Okay. Abandonado. Any hope I had, I've let go. It doesn't matter if I'm here or at home. Either way, I'm still alone. Abandonado. Abandonado. How can a father be a no-show? Does he know he left a hole in my heart? Though I was young, it still tears me apart to be abandonado. Childhood lost, easily led astray. That's the cost when mama worked 3 jobs a day. Little love left and no time to play. Hermano and I, we had to find our own way. Now I can't be saved. Abandonado.
Yes. Woo! That is beautiful, and I miss that song. I do.
Me
I
too.
love that
Me
song.
too.
Are you feeling abandoned?
I did
yeah.
feel abandoned, but
I just want to promo one more time on April 24th, Friday night on April 24th, to come and join myself, Carrie, and Tony Valdovinos, and you'll all be receiving an email about it for the concert to Americana, where Carrie will talk about how each of these songs were created, and she'll sing several of them. So please join us.
Yeah, so look up that email, and it'll be great to have you with us when that happens. So Carrie, thank you so much for joining us. I know you have to go put your little one to bed.
Yes.
And thank you for joining us with your guitar.
That's Luke.
Oh,
Thank you, Luke.
You bet. Good to see y'all.
Thanks so much, y'all. It was wonderful
Thank you.
chatting with everyone. Thank you.
Good.
Okay.
Good night, Carrie. Good night,
Carrie.
Luke.
Okay.
And so next, we're going to have the incomparable Sean Ewing, who played Tony Valdovinos, and he's going to sing a snippet from Dreamer. Well, actually, he's not going to do it right now because he recorded it earlier. So the lovely Miss Kristen Peterson was going to be playing that for us right now. Maybe. Yes.
I didn't know I was a dreamer, although the sound of it rings true, calling out to my Redeemer. Nothing is what I thought I knew, a family built on living lies. I was too blind to realize that I have always been a dreamer, without a land to call my own. A crooked line, a jagged border, one step inside and you are free, the other way is out of order. Now it's impossible to be a man who stands up for what's right, the bravery who joins the fight. But then I've always been a dreamer, without a land to call my own. But this is
Oh God. Okay, everyone out there, just know that we didn't hear a darn thing, but it was fun to watch you sing with no sound. There's a lot of stuff going on, Sean.
Yeah, thanks, Robbie.
Thank you so much. That was gorgeous. I heard you sing it several times, so thank you for that. We're gonna move on, but we're gonna toss it back to Michael. Michael, you have a little something to say?
Well, first and foremost, I'd love to say thank you to Mr. Jason Rose for sponsoring and bringing this idea to me, and for sponsoring and producing, helping the Phoenix Theater Company produce this show as the producer that you have become. It's been a joy to get to know you, and even and I know we will have success in the future together. So I applaud you, Jason Rose, for your exciting thought. New work, just like any other aspect of anything that goes on behind the curtain, it's a long process. It's a challenging process. It's a difficult process. It's an exciting process. It's a thrilling and exuberant process. It is a roller coaster ride, and we do it because we love to bring those stories to life. And you, ladies and gentlemen, are the reason why we bring these stories to life. And we hope that in some way that the statements that we can make in the productions that we create will impact and move you in a particular way that is meaningful and long living with you, creating a memory that will last with you and hopefully sometimes change you forever. That all being said, our 100-year theater that has never shut its doors has had to shut its doors in this very surreal and bizarre time. And so our artistry cannot be reached on this at the same level that it can when we are live and with you. We long for the day that we will come back. And because these are difficult times, we would love for you to consider a donation of any kind at any level that you might consider for the theater at this time, as it is trying to negotiate its way back to you. And we look forward to that day very soon. Thank you for your consideration. Robbie? You're on mute, dear.
That's not surprising.
It's my first experience of you being mute.
Oh,
Sorry.
welcome to Rich Orloff.
Do I know how to make an entrance?
You do. So Rich has been in our festival for 5 times. He has 5 plays. Skin Deep, Jennifer's Birth.
Skin Deep, Engagement Rules, Tropical Heat, which Michael directed,
Right.
Jennifer's Birth, and then It's a Beautiful Wound, which you directed.
Yes. Rich, I will just tell you, Rich is one of my favorite playwrights to have in the house. And here's why. He is, first off, super humble, but very smart and exacting. So he knows what he's there to achieve. And he is so gracious and accepting and wants the community when he walks in the door to be part of it. And that is a very special gift with playwrights. And we are very lucky here at Phoenix Theater Company to have had many of them. But Rich has been back many times because of his generosity in the way he works. So I'm going to throw out.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm going to throw out. How do you know, Rich, if something doesn't work? You've done this enough times.
Oh, it's actually fairly easy. It's a quick story. When I was just starting out, I was writing lots of short plays, and I was in a workshop in LA at the time. And one evening, I brought in 2 plays, a comedy and a much more serious play. I knew the comedy worked because it was getting lots of laughs, which was a wonderful feeling. I thought the drama bombed, and fortunately, the Oliver Haley, a wonderful playwright who led the workshop, talked to me afterwards. He said, "Rich, were you really listening to the audience? Did you hear how quiet they were?" And it was one of the most educational moments in my life. I love listening to the audience because there's a beautiful kind of silence when an audience is engaged. So I either want them laughing or just that sort of palpable feeling of knowing, yeah, they're really gripped by what's going on.
Yeah, you can feel it. You're right. You can't describe it, but you can feel it. And
Yeah.
it's a different silence than when they're not in it.
Yeah, it's not, if they're not in it, they're coughing or shuffling around. And I mean, we've all attended plays and musicals where we are frankly bored. And we know that feeling of just, the sort of unease in our body. And we also know it's like to be thoroughly engaged and focused. And yeah, that is palpable.
Yeah, if you get that sweet spot of everybody being engaged,
Mhm.
it is magical. And that's what makes theater unlike any other form of entertainment and artistry. And I
Yes.
love that. Now,
And
how do you,
I write to connect. And so to connect with an audience at that moment, it really is magical. And it's why I don't write movies and I don't write novels. I want to be there in the room when it's live and happening for those extraordinary moments.
awesome. So when something doesn't work, how do you know how to fix it? I mean, I know you're smart and stuff, but
I don't know. It's all trial and error. I mean, some moments there's inspiration, but it's not an accident that, most of my plays, by the time I feel they're ready to be produced, it's draft 8 or draft 10. There's one of my plays that went through 16 drafts. And there are moments of where, oh, I think I get it. But what I sometimes tell other playwrights is, every time I do a rewrite, it's the first draft of that rewrite. And I really don't know if it's going to work until I see an audience.
yeah, and that's it. It's like Vegas.
Mhm.
Like really, you never know if it's going to work.
Yes.
So you pull that lever anyway and see if you come up with cherries.
And there was a moment in It's a Beautiful Wound, you may remember, where I keep tossing in funny line after funny line each day, because even in rehearsal, we knew it wasn't feeling right to us. And I finally, at that final moment, found something that worked, but I had to go through this process to get there.
Yeah, it's truly a discovery process, and it's fun to watch you discover because you're very analytical about it. So my question is to you: what is your favorite part about writing a new play?
Pretty much everything with one exception. I love getting an idea for a play because I often sort of describe this as a kind of romantic relationship. And so there's the excitement of that new energy, like, oh, I have this idea and it's exciting and it's just filling me up. And I usually spend about a year or so thinking about before and making notes so that by the time I actually sit down and write a first draft, I already have some of the characters in mind and some of the story, although not everything, but a lot worked out. So thinking about it's exciting, sitting down and writing it's exciting. The second draft sucks because just frankly, I hate second drafts because the first draft invariably has mistakes. I mean, I've been lucky, a couple of times I heard it play once and realized this just doesn't work. And I put it in the file drawer.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the most painful things to hear is this has potential and just know it's not there yet. And so the second draft is to try to sort of take it, like to fix everything that's wrong, knowing that it's not going to happen in one draft. So that's just excruciating. But from that point on, hopefully it's making the play better and better and better. And then it's fun again.
That's awesome. Good.
Yeah.
Thank you. So tonight we're going to read a couple of writings from you. Now these are they're both titled A Prayer for Now.
Yeah.
I'm going to read number 3, and then Sean is going to read number 8. They're not part of a play. There's something you've written recently, and sometimes reading a play on Zoom is not helpful, depending on internet speeds.
Right.
So I'm going to ask you, what prompted you to write these?
As you may have heard, there's this pandemic going around. And certainly, it was in the newspapers. Check your local listings. I'm in the New York is sort of the center of it at this moment. And I want to reassure people that, there's a lot of drama going on. But there's also this kind of odd calmness going on in New York. We're slowing down. New Yorkers rise to the occasion. I don't think they often get enough credit for that. And I've slowed down. And there are moments where I'm just filled with anxiety and dread. And then there are just moments where sort of serenity takes me over. And I can't sort of put it any other way than that. And these idea for what I call prayer poems have just sort of risen in me. And I wrote down the first one and shared it with some people, and they liked it. And so I've now written 9 so far, and I have no idea where I'm going with this. But I like to think that they're sort of contributing to people's comfort and solace in this situation we're all going through.
Yeah, and that's why we're reading a couple of them tonight. So thank you for sharing them with us.
Sure.
So I am reading A Prayer for Now, number 3. This morning, as I look out my window, I decide to take a break from my anxieties to remind myself, hey, I'm doing a damn good job taking care of myself. When I get scared, I reach out to friends instead of pretending I'm okay. When I feel okay, I reach out to friends to see if they're doing okay. I'm adjusting my expectations of myself and others, knowing that pretending things are normal isn't fair to my soul. I allow myself escape into work, into comfort TV, because living in the here and now is sometimes too much to bear. Not being up to the challenge is an inevitable chapter in rising to the challenge. I rant, I sigh, and I admit that part of me likes slowing down and likes that the world is slowing down. And if we're breaking some stupid agreements we've made of how life should be, I take walks every day, taking joy in the blessings of air and quiet, practicing social distancing, swerving and avoiding, not only to save my life, but to save the lives of others. I'm treating myself with love and kindness. I'm treating others with love and kindness. I'm treating the world with love and kindness. And my deepest prayer at this moment isn't that I hope to live, but that I hope that when this crisis is over, I will remember and practice its beautiful lessons, and that I'll always carry a little of this time with me. And let us say, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Robbie. That was beautiful.
No, it's beautiful words. It's
Oh,
so,
beautiful words, Rich. Beautiful.
so
Thank
fun.
you.
Mm.
It's kind of weird because, as Michael, Robbie, as you know, I generally write comedies, and
It was hysterical.
thank you. Something takes me over. I mean, I certainly like to think that what I've learned about using words, I sort of in the employ of something larger these days. And there's a musicality that I think I've learned from musical theater, even though I haven't written a musical yet, that I almost think of these sometimes as lyrics as much as poetry, because I just love the rhythm of some of the phrases that come to me while I write these.
Well, I will say that there's something good to be said about this pandemic. It's that we are learning a great deal about our inner soul, and the opportunity for an artist to be able, like yourself, to be able to express what you are learning in your soul is a beautiful thing. So thank you, Rich.
Thank you, Michael.
Well, you get to hear a little bit more. Sean is reading A Prayer for Now, number 8.
Number 8. Today, 1 month since I felt the touch of another human, I meditate on this. When the pandemic is over, I will stroke your brow and caress your face and let you weep. I will touch you softly, knowing how raw you are, and I will peel off your armor slowly, putting it in a safe place in case you need it again. I will let you sink into my arms and let the unfamiliar become familiar again. I will hold you. Yes, all of you, including the place that yearns to fall apart and longs for the day when you can. I'll let you lay on my lap and curl into a ball and let your body say caddish as I gently stroke your hair. I will calm the places that are still trembling, that refuse to believe it's safe to feel again. I will press gently on those places till they know it's safe to surrender again. I will coax your smile out of hiding, dance as close to you as I can and whisper in your ear, yes. It's time for yes. Or maybe I don't have to wait for that day. Maybe somehow, some way, I can do all of those things for you sooner. I may be far away, but I promise you, I'm here for you. Right here for you. Right now. Really good writing, Rich. I love it.
Thank you, Sean. Professor, with I have just in some Zoom chat rooms and stuff, and at my synagogue, recited these prayer poems. This is the first time I've ever heard other people saying them, and it's one, I'm moved, and it's also a reminder of what actors like you or Robbie can bring to moments like this. It's really wonderful to see you take my words, which I have some pride in, but to sort of bring them to that next level, and truly sort of imbue them with life.
Thank you.
Sure.
You're muted again, Robbie.
Robbie, if you're talking, you're muted.
I know this is a thing I do daily. Sorry, y'all. But it's only actors can only do it if the writer sets us up.
Well, thanks.
So thank you so much for sharing that with you. I know that's pretty personal, and they're beautiful. So thank you.
Glad to do that.
So I'm going to move on to Craig Baumler.
So, just checking. Can I now spend some time with my little one?
Yes.
Oh, good. Because I have my little one right here, and I've been missing it all day. L'chaim.
Oh, he looks just like you.
Thank you.
So we're gonna move on to Craig Baumler. Hi, Craig. How you doing?
Hey, good, Robbie. How are you?
I'm good.
I'm Michael.
So you've had so many things done at Phoenix Theater, and the first one was way before our time, at least my time. So what was that?
So it was Gunmetal Blues in 1991, and since I'm a composer, I like to say it with music instead of words. So, but I've worked with some amazing, extraordinary lyricists, and Gunmetal Blues was written. It was my very first one, and it's had like 400 productions now, including London and off Broadway. And Michael directed it, and Phoenix Theater did it when it was Phoenix Little Theater before there was a New Works Festival. However, I feel like the Phoenix Theater is my home because they have developed and set my career in motion. So this is a song from Gunmetal Blues. I think you were going to introduce that, but
yeah, it's being sung by the lovely and talented Trisha Ditsworth. So Kristen, bring her in.
I used to be a cool blonde, cruel blonde, play you for a fool blonde, dumb blonde, dum-de-dum blonde. How kind of you to come blonde, static blonde, acrobatic blonde, idiosyncratic blonde, but you'll never find a blonde like me. You lipstick in a smear, are flying with the jet set. The used to be brunette set. You're looking lovely, dear. It's very clear I've been a saint blonde, quaint blonde, catch me or I'll faint blonde, dour blonde, cold shower blonde. Have you read Schopenhauer blonde? Bleach blonde, on the beach blonde, once more into the breach blonde, but you'll never find a blonde like me.
Yes.
Hey.
That must have been written from personal experiences, right, Craig?
Well, you know what? In my old blonde days, yes, when I used to have that blonde hair, what can I say?
I have to interject real quickly just to say, such a brilliant song. The female character, it's only a 3-person show. The female character plays, I don't know, 7 or 8 different blonde women, different blonde characters.
Don't give it away. Don't give it away.
I won't.
All right.
But the song is a culmination from this one character, just the essence of the variations on blondes. Put it that way.
Yes, it's a fun musical. And you often write fun musicals for us, Craig. The other one that comes to mind, and I've directed 3 times, I think.
And Michael directed once or twice.
So we've done like 7 or 8 times. It's called The Quiltmaker's Gift.
Yes, you guys got the rights to which I wouldn't have been able to do. Phoenix Theater was able to accomplish getting the rights to a really famous children's book called The Quiltmaker's Gift. And so they honored me by asking me to write the music for it. And I wrote it with Alan Pruitt, who at one time ran the Cookie Company at Phoenix Theater, and Stephen Mark Cohn, who also wrote the libretto to my opera Riders of the Purple Sage, for those who've crossed the street and seen that. But this is a song, Quiltmaker's Gift is a children's musical. It's had 35 productions. I was trying to put that together today. So it's had 35 productions since the Phoenix Theater one. So
and we have the lovely Rusty Faircane doing a little snippet.
He's an evil king. He's an evil king.
Well, duh. But he's also playing an evil king in this, right? So, Kristen, take it away.
I don't mean to be mean. I don't try to defile. I don't roll out of bed with a thought in my head that today I'll be utterly vile. I don't strive to be cold or to rule with my fist. But this being a king is a powerful thing, and that power is hard to resist. I don't mean to be mean, but this crown on my bean is a most miraculous thing. So you'll pardon me now if I sing, and permit me a flourish and fling. I'm not keen to be mean or unfair or obscene, but it's all part of being the king.
Yes. Yes. Hi, Rusty.
I heard that, Robbie. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Rusty.
Thank you, Rusty. And then the other musicals you've done, you did another children's musical called Unstoppable Me that I believe Michael wrote the book to, right?
Yes, and Vincent as well. And then I believe you did you not direct the
second one? I did the second.
I did the first one.
Did you do you did the first one? Okay, it's hard to know everybody's roles. But anyway, again, it's a Wayne Dyer book, so it's impossible to get the rights to something like that. But Phoenix Theater got the rights to that, and then we and then after that we did we did All the More to Love. Mm-hmm. Which was a very large piece that we did, that Michael directed also, and Phoenix Theater went through the New Works Festival also. And then the Boob Show was the most recent one, which also went through the New Works Festival. I think 3 readings on that. That written with Sally Jo Bano.
Mhm.
And so, and she was actually the conceiver of it. She wrote much of the music, which I just simply transcribed or arranged for her. But yeah, we've had 5 pieces, and Michael has been in some way, usually director on it or producer of it.
Mhm.
Certainly one of those 2 things, or all of the above on all of those things. So thank you, Michael. Thank you, Phoenix
You're
Theater.
welcome. I just want to give credit to Vincent Van Vliet, who is the co-book writer on Unstoppable Me.
Yes. So thank you, Craig, because you've brought so much music into our lives, not just by writing it, but playing it half the time. So thank you so much, darling. And you will see a little bit of All the More to Love at the end of the program from our actual production of it back in a long time ago. So at this point, I just want to thank you all for coming. Thank you for being part of the Behind the Curtain. And as always, if you have the inkling or the means to make a donation, we would certainly appreciate it. The one thing I will talk about being an employee of Phoenix Theater, because that has not been shared. We have leaders who have made it their mission to keep us employed, while theaters all over the country are shutting their doors. And you don't understand what kind of commitment that takes as leadership to keep people working and thinking and creating. So, so even if you offer up a prayer or a quarter or a dollar or whatever, it would be highly helpful in these times. So thank you so much for joining us. And I have just a couple of questions that have come in over the wires while Craig was, doing music and stuff. I have a question for Sean. What is it like to be an actor what's it like to be an actor in a world premiere? How is it different than any other show?
It's terrifying. It's actually very fun. I think along the lines of how it gives the musicians and all the everyone a chance to create something. It was really rewarding to just dive into a piece that gave me the opportunity to speak to Tony himself and to try to emulate what he was as a human being and still is to this day. So it's a joy, but I cannot deny that it's extremely nerve-wracking, especially when you have the family watching you portray their story. But it's an honor. I never had the opportunity to do something like this before. And thank you, Michael, and everybody involved. It was the first time I actually had the opportunity to do so. And it was really rewarding. And I actually learned a lot from the experience of diving into a new work as the character.
Awesome. Hey, Michael, do you want to take the next question?
Sure. This goes to Craig. How does a composer create music? Meaning, how do you decide and then create what a song is going to sound like? What comes first, lyric or music for you?
Lyric almost always comes first. On rare occasion, it has come the other way, but actually, interesting little fact, Lerner and Loewe wrote the other way. Sort of Lerner would sort of throw the hook, like On the Street Where You Live at Loewe, and then he would write the whole song, and then Lerner would sort of, create the lyric, and that Rodgers and Hammerstein wrote the normal way, which is the way I write, which is lyric first. And then usually, I don't know what it is. It's in a way, it's a gift, and then it's craft. I'm sure Rich probably agrees with that. You get the inspiration, and then the craft comes in. But my gift has always been able to, the heavens seem to assign notes to syllables when I get a good lyric. And my writers, of which I have 7 lyricists that I work with, are very, very intuitive at addressing character, style, and time for a play. So once I know those 3 things, the music the work is really done for me in a way.
Nice. Yeah, I can see that. The next question I have is for Rich. Actually, it just came through. Rich, what's your last name?
Orloff,
You
Orloff.
won!
Yay! I got that right.
And do you? The questions was, do you have a book of poetry?
No, I haven't written a poem before in my life until a month ago.
Well, maybe you have a new career coming up.
I was going to say the same thing after last night, what I heard last night. Yes, I think there's a book of poetry there.
Thanks. It's this is also new to me that it's actually as you all probably know, there's that moment of inspirations we get, moments of inspiration, and then there is the practical head. Well, what can I do with this? And given what I and what we all are going through these days, it's somehow really important for me to sort of push that aside and just, I don't know if I will write another poem, if I will write 20 more poems. So, and that's to me part of the sort of excitement of this sort of creative moment in my time.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Rich.
Sure.
Now I'm going to turn it back over to Michael to wrap us up.
I just want to take a moment to thank everybody for joining us this evening on the New Works Festival. Thank you to Robbie for hosting us through this. Thanks to Rich Orloff, to Sean Ewing, to Mr. Craig Baumler for their beautiful gifts that they provide the world and for their commentary tonight. And also a big shout out to Carrie Rodriguez, who is now singing probably a lullaby to her boy as we speak right now. Also, big shout out to our stage manager on this show, Sam Monson, and to our technical wizard on this production, Kristen Peterson. We're going to close and leave you with the closing number from one of Craig's musicals called All the More to Love that I had the pleasure of directing the premiere of. All the More to Love is a musical about a particular thrift shop, kind of based on a thrift shop in the San Francisco area that catered to cross-gender individuals or heavy-set women, etc. And because it's all the more to love, right? So there was, and it's tales of a variety of a number of amazing individuals that came through the doors of this thrift store. The owner of the thrift store concludes at the end of the show this musical number that you're about to see, and asks the other members of the cast to come and join. The other members of the cast have all done a number of a variety of different roles within the show, and they are costumed as the character that they finally portrayed, or the last character of the show. So I want you to acknowledge the performers, Kristen Drathman, who is the featured lead performer in this number, Jenny Hensey, Johanna Carlisle Zapeta, Angelica Burchett, Rusty Farrakane, and Mr. Robert Colby Harper. Look for him and see if you can recognize him in this final number. We leave you with this number. Thank you all. God bless, and we'll see you next week when we do an episode on The Actor Prepares. So enjoy this final number.
A work of art or a working stiff, in vintage or nearly new, in a bright red gown